What's going on, guys? Today's Friday, and despite it being one of my favorite series, it's one that I don't think I've ever actually even mentioned on this channel. The anime of topic today is Death Note, and more specifically, I'm going to be taking a look at the differences between Light's sense of justice and L's sense of justice. Now, my reason for making this video is because while I can completely understand both of the points of views and the ideologies that both of these characters operate under, I never understood that so many people actually took Light's side. They actually wanted him to win in the end. It is only recently that I'm finding out that people actually root for Light throughout the series, and while I guess that's understandable since he is the protagonist, me and my friends that I've known that have watched it have never even come close to that. I just always thought that L was the person you're supposed to be rooting for because he kind of is like the good guy in a way. And now I get that a lot of people don't see it that way. They actually see Light as being the good guy. And don't get me wrong, like I said before, I understand Light's point of view, and that's why I'm going to be talking about this. I can actually say from this perspective why I get it. But then the thought crosses my mind, well, I guess there's probably a lot of people on the Light side that don't really understand the motivations for the people who want L to win in the end, why people think that that is the better way of going about it, because don't get me wrong, Light does make a lot of good points. Like, it's not stupid at all. That's not what I'm saying. I just always assumed that a lot of people wanted to go towards L because, I mean, you know, Light is kind of like bloodying his hands throughout the series. He is working with a death god. Like, I just always thought that that was kind of like evil in a sense. So this is going to be a two-part video. The first part be me explaining, not necessarily justifying, explaining why people like Light's point of view, why they think that he is the good guy in this series. And then the second part, of course, will be the same thing for L. And if you already pretty much understand Light's side completely, or you don't really want to hear what I have to say about it, you can just click on the timestamp below. It'll skip to the second part, where I will then explain to you people's perspective on L's side. So, like I said earlier, at first glance, just by looking at what Light's doing, how he's operating, he could come off as evil originally because he is in fact working with the Death God, and his main ability is he is just able to kill people by writing their name in a book as long as he knows what their face looks like. Having this kind of ability doesn't seem like the kind of thing that a good person would have, especially when it was just given to him by chance. It just fell out of the sky, and it's called the Death Note. Like, that doesn't necessarily have a good connotation to it. So it makes sense how somebody could, at the beginning, just look and be like, oh yeah, this guy's evil. But first of all, right out of the gate, something that everyone has to understand is that it has been proved that in his eyes, he actually believes that he is the good guy in this whole scenario. Regardless of whether or not you think what he's doing is bad, whatever really is objectively good or bad, if there's such a thing, he does in fact believe that what he is doing is good, and it is for the sake of humanity. This is shown not just by the conversations he has with Ryuk, but more importantly, the conversations he has with himself in his head when he is saying that he is the only person that can do this, and that while it's not necessarily fun to stain your hands with blood, he has to do it because he is the only one that can. He is the only one that can bring peace to the world. You don't lie to yourself in your head, okay? I mean, yeah, of course you can kind of like lie to yourself, but that's not how, like, you do believe what you are actually thinking, of course. That should go without saying. But speaking from outside of his own views, actually, what can we say about this? It's actually quite interesting because it's not really that absurd or unheard of a concept, okay? The idea of if someone was given absolute power, what would they do with this? What would they be expected to do with it? If someone is given the power of life and death, shouldn't it be their responsibility to maintain peace in the world? Shouldn't they use that power for the sake of good, to make sure that other people act accordingly? They act good because they know that there is a God power out there which does control life and death. This is not an uncommon theme at all in literature, and definitely not in anime. I've seen it in a lot of different anime, okay? We have Naruto with Obito, Pain, even Madara. Like, pretty much every one of the antagonists that actually matter in the plot, they have this exact kind of thing going on. But so yeah, if this idea of using a superpower like this for the sake of good just makes absolutely no sense, like how could killing people be good at all? Let me try and explain it to you from their perspective. And while we do obviously have laws against this, we do have police officers that try to prevent this, we have laws that even sometimes do punish people with death. This just isn't enough because it's not an absolute power in the slightest. Cops just have guns, you know, they can't say who is right and wrong, they can't necessarily make a judgment call. A lot of the time, evidence is required to convict someone in a case even though everyone knows that they did it. Like, there's just no, you know, cold hard evidence, but everyone actually knows, like it's just there. Yet sometimes people do get away with murder, so what do we do in a kind of situation like that? In the real world, there isn't really anything we could do, but in the world of Death Note, Light is given an opportunity. This Death Note falls out of the sky one day and it gives him the power of life and death. He can choose if pretty much anyone dies. All he needs to know is their name and face, and in modern times, this is not that much. I mean, the name is just easy, you know, that's not hard to figure out at all. And a face with television and whatnot, like that's just not that hard at all. And if you really couldn't figure something out, like just go find them. I mean, come on, it's really not that difficult, especially if nobody knows that you have this ability. Like, they're searching for you and they can't do anything about it. You really are pretty much a god. But so, what is my point here? Where am I going with this? So, what I'm saying is, if you had this book, okay, what would you do with it? Would it be best to just try and destroy it, or maybe hide it so that no one else can find it, so it can be taken away from humanity? Well, if you're on Light's side, probably yes, since I'm assuming you can't really destroy it. It'd probably be best to just try and hide it from humanity, or at least turn it in. But maybe not even, because then can you really trust whoever you just turned it into? But Light and the people who are on Light's side see it from a completely different perspective, okay? So think about it, like, if you have this power over life and death, you can enforce laws that can't necessarily always be enforced. Things that aren't just really that big of crimes, like maybe just thievery and whatnot, you could punish these people by killing them, making it a deterrent so that people aren't going to want to commit crimes anymore because they know that there is not some kind of legal system they have to go through. They know if they do something illegal, they are going to be punished with death immediately. There's not going to be any time, they're going to not have any idea of when this is coming. They're just going to have a heart attack out of nowhere because someone is watching them from a subjective perspective. This person cannot be reasoned with because you do not know who they are. And they don't really have any soft spots because they don't know who you are really. So they just see that you did something wrong and boom, they write down your name. They have no feelings about it, especially when they become like Light, when they become a killing machine, when this becomes their life. Light really does, in pretty much every sense of the word, become a god. And something you have to consider is that he actually did bring crime rates down, like drastically down, okay? By doing everything he did, crime rates went down by a lot. There were not nearly as many murders, not nearly as much thievery, nothing really that bad at all. And even Light and other characters that have been put in a similar situation as this, they know that what they are doing is wrong, it's a bad thing, but they say, okay, I will take all the blame, I will go to hell if that's what it takes, but if that makes this world a better place, then am I really in the wrong for doing this? If I have to kill these people, nobody actually wants to kill people. If I have to kill all these people, if I have to stain my hands with blood, but then it makes the world a better place, am I really in the wrong? If anything, the people in this kind of position see it as a duty that they must fulfill. It's not something that they want to do. It's like a hardship that they have to go through. They have to kill people, regardless of the fact that nobody really just wants to kill people, especially if they were born as a good person. And while there is certainly an opposing side, you cannot blame these people if they actually do believe that what they are doing is right. And that is pretty much the entire idea, the ideology of what is going on Light's side, of the people that like Light, they wanted him to win. So now we're going to be talking about L's side, and it probably won't take as long because it's really not that complicated of a concept. I think that the majority of people on Light's side could still understand why people would want L to win, why they think that this would be the correct form of justice. So pretty much L and people on his side look at what Light's doing and they say, okay, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but that's just not how it works, because first of all, you just want all the power to yourself, okay? You think that you are the best person in the world for the job, which in Light's case, he does. And that's just not something you can determine. You cannot determine whether or not you are the best person for this job. There is no way that one person should have absolute power, because that doesn't make any sense when making decisions on this kind of scale. The reason why almost every country in this world now has a judicial system where to set up that a lot of different people have to come to a consensus that a certain person deserves some sort of punishment based on what they've done is because that just kind of makes more sense if you think about how fair that would be. And not just even whether that's fair, like, oh, well, why should this guy get to make all the decisions? I mean, how is it even reasonable that one person would be smart enough, would be wise enough, would be correct enough to make decisions like this? I'm sure that almost every single person watching this video can agree that they have made a lot of decisions in their life, or at least thought a lot of things, had a strong feeling about a lot of things in their lives at an earlier point, and then they grow up, a lot of years pass, and they look back on those things and are like, my God, what was wrong with me? Like, seriously, I have come so far, I can't believe I used to think like that. And that, of course, is not abnormal in the slightest, because humans grow and develop non-stop as they get older. They really never stop getting smarter, getting wiser, becoming a better human being. As we grow older, we develop a better sense of right and wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is just, and what is not. And for just some 17-year-old kid to be given the power of life and death to pretty much become the new judicial system, there is just no way that this can be right. How can it be a good idea for a 17-year-old high school kid to have all the power in the world to be able to decide what is right and wrong, to be able to punish people with death? That's his only real way of actually punishing people, through death. He doesn't just get to put them in jail. And this kid is going to have the mind of a 17-year-old for the rest of his life, because he has no ability to grow and develop anymore. He has no ability to see different perspectives, because when he thinks something should be some way, that's it, he does it. If anyone defies him, he just fucking kills them. And that's a huge problem. He no longer has the ability to grow and develop as a human. So that's really it for L's side. It's seen when looking at Light's side, it's not really fair that just some random person gets to be the person who decides all. You only get one person's perspective on the situation. You don't get it like it is now in our world, where a lot of people get to come together and they say like, well, okay, is this okay? Is this okay? Maybe this is okay because this person did this. Like, there's a lot of factors you have to consider from a lot of different perspectives, but that is no longer the case when only one person is considering a case. And lastly, with Light being a 17-year-old boy, and it wouldn't even really matter if he was just older, this person no longer has the ability to develop as a human being. They no longer get to develop a better sense of justice, because anytime they come up with some idea, anytime they want something to happen, boom, it happens. If it doesn't, they just kill everyone until it does happen. So that's pretty much everything I could think about for these two people. That is what they are thinking. I believe that is what their fans are thinking when they're watching this series, when they are contemplating what is right and wrong. It's not really possible to say which side is right or wrong, and even though I said that I did take the side of L, that's only really because, like I said, I just thought he was like the generic hero of the story. What I actually believe, I don't really know, you know? Maybe if this video gets a lot of attention, if it gets a lot of upvotes, I will make a follow-up video saying what I think is the correct way of going about things. And I don't really know if that's something that people would really like to see, since people usually like seeing a more objective kind of stance, but maybe it will be. I don't know, maybe people will really like this video and they'll want to see more, see what I have to say. So now, I know this is setting the bar really high, but I'm gonna say if this video gets 150 likes, I'll make that video. And yes, that's really high, that's really greedy considering the size of this channel. But for one thing, it wouldn't even be close to the first time one of my videos got that many likes. And secondly, and most importantly, I really don't want to make a video like this, because this could eventually become a pretty serious problem depending on either side I take, really. Like, this is some pretty serious shit we're talking about. If I give Light's side any credit at all, that might be a problem as well. People are going to think I'm some kind of psychotic mass murderer, and that's not really something I want to do. So let's just let's make it a pretty high bar. So that pretty much wraps up this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought about this video, whose side you're on, if you like Light, if you like L. Give me the reasons for that. Maybe I didn't mention something that you think. Maybe there's another reason for either of these people that you really think is huge. Remember to leave me also a lot of ideas for new videos you'd like to see, maybe some anime you'd like me to watch, hopefully shorter ones, maybe ones you know I've already seen, some videos you'd like me to make, specific discussion topics. Make sure to turn into my live stream tonight and tomorrow. They're going to be awesome. I have found that Friday through Sunday streams are way better. I'd be streaming Sunday as well, but you know, I work, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, with that all being said, I hope you guys have an excellent day, an excellent weekend, and if I don't see you sooner in the streams, then I'll talk to you guys on Sunday.